The second method of deploying DemandBase with Adobe Analytics is to use version 3 of the DemandBase Custom Data Connector. This is the latest version of our Custom Data Connector and streamlines some of the configuration process. To begin, you'll first want to make sure that you have version 3 of this Custom Data Connector in your Data Connector wizard already. Once you've confirmed that, you can then go ahead and add a new report suite to set it up with. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'll name this report suite Test Report Suite. Once you finish naming your report suite, you can go ahead and begin configuring the integration. The first step of the integration requires you to insert a DemandBase tag UID and a DemandBase API key. Now, I have this already handy, but you'll want to get this from your DemandBase CSM or DemandBase Implementation Engineer if you do not have it already. Once you confirm that you have a name, email, and if necessary, a description for your report suite, you can go ahead and move on to step 2. In step 2, we'll want to define the variable mappings. One thing to note is that version 3 of the Custom Data Connector allows you to use up to 5 EVARs to store DemandBase data. Previously, in version 2 of our data connector, you could only use 2 EVARs, and if necessary, there was a possibility of adding 1 more. Here, I'm going to select the 5 EVARs that I want to store my DemandBase data in. Once I've selected all the EVARs, I'll then want to make sure to check the boxes here and then rename the site catalyst metric if desired. Once we move on to step 3, you'll notice that here we need to decide what to name each of the DemandBase variable attributes inside of the reporting suite. So for instance, if I were to have watch list, watch underscore list underscore account status, if this were the data that were actually being pulled from the API response, then we might want to name it something useful like account status. You'll note here that this is a crucial difference between version 3 and version 2 of the data connector. Version 2 requires you to define the exact name of the variable that you'll be using inside of your EVAR during the integration setting step. In version 3, which we have here, there's no need to define the actual name of the variable because your DemandBase Implementation Engineer will already be doing that for you. Therefore, in step 3, all you need to do is determine a proper name for your DemandBase variables when you're looking at the data inside of the reporting suite. So, for instance, if your DemandBase Implementation Engineer has set up dimension number 2 with website, then maybe you'll want to name this dimension website in the reporting suite. Now, I won't be filling all these names, but once you finish doing that, you'll then want to make sure to check all the boxes down below here so that we have the rule sets applied. If the rule sets need to be renamed, you can rename them right here. When we move on to step 4, we're nearly done setting up the integration. There's no need to set up an integration for the dashboard, so we can just move on and continue to step 5 to review the integration. Here, you'll have an overall summary of all the configuration settings. So if you notice anything wrong, you'll want to go back and edit them. When you're finished, you can move down and click Activate Now to finish the integration.